From the office to a first date, there's a lot of pressure to wear the right clothes for every situation. But clothes don't make the man. With Mack Weldon, you can build a wardrobe that looks polished in any setting and tells the world that you stay you wherever you go. They combine timeless style with modern performance materials to keep you looking good and feeling comfortable all day, no matter what's on today's agenda. Browse everything from shorts and polos to sweats and crews. Go to MackWeldon.com and get 25% off your first order of $125 or more with promo code MACK25. That's MackWeldon.com, promo code MACK25.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word SHOW to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word SHOW, S-H-O-W, to 33777. Text SHOW to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Hello, America. I am back from New York City. Glad to be with you today. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, you can call in. Happy to have you. We got a lot going on today, and I, out of the gate, got to address myself because I am part of the news story. I didn't intend to be a news headline today. And to begin with, I need to say something as a matter of housekeeping to all the news networks that are calling and emailing. I can't do your TV shows today, and I'm not trying to weasel out of it. I have been out of town and have obligations I can't get out of this evening, so I'm sorry. I can't do TV tonight. Lots of people over what happened just a short time ago. So what happened? Well, Robert F. Kennedy is having his first big hearing in the United States Senate before the Health Care Committee. Elizabeth Warren is grilling him right now. Bernie Sanders sitting next to her. But it was Bill Cassidy, who is a doctor, who is the senator from Louisiana, who began things, and he used me to begin his conversation with Robert F. Kennedy.
This is from Eric Erickson, good conservative out of Atlanta, Georgia. Occasionally gives me help. My wife has stage 4 lung cancer. She is one of the people the COVID vaccine actually helps. Thanks to the current mess at HHS, CVS is unable to get her vaccine. Secondly, an email from a physician friend of mine. Hey, Bill, I'm not even sure what I'm asking you, but we're all confused and concerned about who can get the COVID vaccine. We are having our attorney try and render an opinion, but there's no firm guidance and concern about liability if vaccines are given to a patient who requests it, but not on the current CDC list. Pharmacists are requiring a prescription now, even for patients over 65, creating a huge headache. I submit these for the record.
Without objection.
I would say effectively we're denying people vaccine.
We actually are in 18 states in particular, and I live in one of them. Let me explain this. And first, a word on the vaccine. If you don't want it, don't get it. My wife, as the senator said, has stage 4 lung cancer. She got the COVID vaccine, the booster, and the whole family did on the advice of her medical team because we didn't want her to get COVID with stage 4 lung cancer. Her cancer is manageable. It's more like chronic illness. She takes a pill every day that keeps the tumors from growing. But the doctors told her that she would probably have terrible side effects from the COVID vaccine, but that COVID itself would be worse than what the vaccines were based on the research. Sure enough, she had horrible side effects from the vaccine, and the booster that she got was even worse. I mean, left her in the bed for days on end. And when she got COVID, it was sniffles for like 48 hours. She had sniffles, and she decided the side effects of the booster and the vaccine were so bad she was not going to get it again. That was 2021. And yeah, you know, she got COVID. You know, I get the flu vaccine every year. I've gotten it a couple times and then gotten the flu, and my doctor was like, that's because you were exposed to the flu before the vaccine. That's why. I get the flu vaccine and typically don't get the flu. In the years that I haven't got the flu vaccine and got the flu, I've been in bed for a week. My wife felt like she had the flu for a week with the COVID vaccine, and the COVID was just sniffles. But now you fast forward several years, she refused to get the vaccine again. In fact, nobody in my family has gotten boosters since, and I've never gotten COVID. I think I'm one of the last people I know who has never gotten COVID that I've known of. Maybe I've gotten it and just had no symptoms. When my wife got COVID the second time, this past October, I don't know that she's completely recovered, and she doesn't have long COVID. It wiped her out so bad, so hard, for so long. She was just a zombie for weeks. She went from being able to pull UPS trucks in strongman competitions to not being able to get out of bed. And she's been dealing with, it really wiped out her immune system. And now, look, I know there are people who say the COVID vaccine can cause cancer. My wife got cancer well before COVID. There actually is data that it's COVID, not the vaccine. It's COVID that can, in some people, for reasons we don't know, cause cancer. There are too many weird cancers that have cropped up in people who have gotten COVID. And there's speculation that maybe the COVID vaccine, because it presents as COVID, your body responds the same way. Maybe that's the case. But I'm not dismissing those. I'm just telling you, my wife had cancer long before this, and her oncologist, her cardiologist, her pulmonologist, her general physician, all of them say she should get the vaccine. And she knows when she got the vaccine how bad it was. COVID wasn't bad. And when she had not had the vaccine several years later, COVID was terrible. So they want her to get the vaccine. We live in Georgia, and in Georgia, you have to have that CDC vaccine group meet and sign off on the approved vaccines, or pharmacists in the state can't give you the vaccine. In some states, you can. And in my state, you can get it, but you got to go through the bureaucracy of your doctor's office and try to get a prescription and all that. My wife's going to be fine. She's going to be able to get it. But Kennedy said I was wrong, and he should live the life that we live. My wife literally went to get the vaccine and could not get the vaccine because the pharmacist said they weren't allowed to give it to her. It's not that they didn't have it, it's that they could not give it to her. You show up for the flu vaccine, they can give you the flu vaccine. You don't need a doctor's prescription. Last year, you showed up for the COVID vaccine. You didn't have a doctor's prescription. You could get it. This year, you go for the flu, you get the flu, you go for the COVID. They're like, sorry, can't do it. Lady sent me her login for a pharmacy in Texas. Same thing happened to her. She's in a similar situation. She has cancer. Her doctor wanted her to get the COVID vaccine, and the pharmacy said, you can get the flu vaccine, you can't get the COVID vaccine. Again, your state, it may be different. My state, this is the situation, and in a lot of states, this is the situation. Because what has happened is there's been so much turmoil at Health and Human Services. They have suspended this panel that signs off on these vaccines, and in a number of states, you can't get it. And in some states, you can get it, but your insurance won't pay for it. And it has become a bureaucratic mess. I'm not here to attack RFK. Y'all know I don't care for him for a lot of reasons. I'm not here to amplify what Democrats are saying. I'm here to tell you, in my situation with my wife, who actually does benefit from the COVID vaccine, whether you do or don't. I mean, it's your body, your choice. That's what they always say. And for some people, they're vehemently opposed to my wife getting the COVID vaccine. That's been the other wild side effect of this. So the number of people say, your wife doesn't need the COVID vaccine. It's probably what gave her cancer. I mean, people who don't know my wife, don't know her life, don't know the history of her cancer, don't know what it is, willing to chime in very freely. They are not cardiologists, pulmonologists, oncologists, general physicians, no medical degrees. They just stayed at a Holiday Inn Express and surfed the internet while they were there. I have talked to a lot of doctors who are running into this problem where they're seeing their patients having to come in to get prescriptions. Again, my wife's going to be fine. She's going to be able to get it, but it slows down the process. And it's the bureaucratic fallout that seems to be happening within HHS, the number of people leaving. And by the way, I support a number of those people leaving. The guy at the CDC who is the into witchcraft and Satanism and couldn't call monkeypox and wanted people to have a good time and not just stop having sex for 2 weeks. So that's where he needed to go. As I said the other day on the program, part of the problem with our healthcare system is that it got politicized by progressives. And so a lot of people do not trust our healthcare system because progressives tried to politicize it. Look at the normalization of transgenderism, where most Americans know it's a mental health issue. Even the people who have trans kids understand it's a mental health issue. They just think that transitioning solves the mental health issue, and they're like, no, this is not a mental health issue. Some people are born in the wrong body. No, the hell they aren't. And you medical professionals who are actually progressive activists don't want to tell you the truth because of stigma. It's always stigma. The left helped discredit the system. I don't think Kennedy, who, by the way, is a leftist, probably is, well, I won't go there. I don't care for the guy. But the problem here is not so much him per se, but the bureaucracy at HHS and the level of disruption he has brought to the office. A lot of those people needed to be fired, but not all of them. And there are people in the country today who cannot go get the vaccines that they need because of this situation. And unfortunately, there are a lot of Americans now these days who are so, I don't know, online and woven into this stuff that they've become very dogmatic and, well, she shouldn't have it because I read on the internet it can do this bad stuff. But you're not a doctor. You're not my wife's doctor. You don't live in our shoes. You don't walk in our shoes. You don't live our life. And I don't care about your strongly held opinion about my wife's situation, the number of people who think they can offer some cure who know nothing about the cancer that she has, the things that she goes through. But it used to be easy to get her the help she needed. In the Kennedy Health and Human Services Department, they've made it hard for my wife to live a life where she can go get the care that she needs quickly. We should not have to go track her doctor down, get him to write the prescription, send it to the local pharmacy for her to have to get a prescription that last year she could just show up and get the vaccine with no prescription, without having to get her doctor involved with any of that. It's become increasingly bureaucratically harder. And no one who has cancer should have to deal with extra bureaucracy in their life when they already have to go through the hassles of insurance approvals for things and regular doctor visits. I appreciate Senator Cassidy's words, a good conservative from Atlanta who occasionally gives me hell. I do. I give him all hell. I have praised Robert F. Kennedy on occasion, rarely because I don't have a lot good to say about him, but I have. You praise President Trump. My God, in fact, I'm being attacked today by progressives for saying that this should be fixed, but why do you support the federal takeover of cities? You just can't win with some people who become super politicized. Here's the bottom line. The left politicized healthcare in this country, and I know there are people who disagree with that, but I don't think you can go through the last 4 years and how they handled COVID and then monkeypox, where they told us to shut down the country for 2 weeks to stop COVID, but couldn't tell gay men to stop having sex for 2 weeks to stop monkeypox. You can't say they didn't politicize it. They did. But I don't think Kennedy is taking the politicization out of it. I think he's just adding different politicization to it. And the net result is that many people are having more bureaucracy in their lives instead of less. If you don't want the vaccine, you don't have to get the vaccine. My wife's entire battery of physicians who deal with her life would like her to get it, and she went to get it and was told she couldn't get it. And the reason she couldn't get it is because we live in a state where you've got to have the list of vaccines, and the committee that does the vaccines hasn't been able to meet because Kennedy tossed so many of them, and there's been all sorts of turmoil at HHS. It's like we're in a new dark ages where people forget what worked. We know what worked. And one of the things that always worked was to allow us to live our lives and make the decisions for ourselves without people in Washington on the left or the right making those decisions for us. And I would like to think that Secretary Kennedy, I think I've said Senator Kennedy, Secretary Kennedy, would actually get the bureaucracy out of our lives so that you and I can make our healthcare decisions for us. I believe you're probably reasonable informed. I know my wife is very reasonably informed about her healthcare. But that's not what's happened here. What's happened here is new bureaucracy making it more difficult to get something that shouldn't be difficult to get for those who want it and whose doctors think they need it. And if any good comes out of my tweeting Senator Cassidy, maybe it's that this insanity that's going on right now and the chaos within the bureaucracy of HHS can be solved for everybody. Because it's only this issue now. What comes next? I don't know. God forbid we have another pandemic of some kind. I didn't expect to be the lead news story today. Y'all should see my emails right now. I've got requests from pretty much every single news outlet in the country asking me to come on shows today, and I don't have time to do it today. Did not intend to start the show with this. In fact, if you stick around, I'll explain to you why the ending of vaccine mandates in Florida is not the catastrophe that the left is claiming it is. It's actually not. It's not a bad thing what Ron DeSantis and the Surgeon General are doing down there. I'll explain it to you when we come back. But it's just wild to me that in this country, Donald Trump, not Joe Biden, Donald Trump, poured federal money into Operation Warp Speed to develop a vaccine that actually has saved lives, even if you've read on the internet it hasn't. It has certainly helped my wife. And now suddenly this second turn of the Trump administration, it's more difficult to get the vaccine that actually helps. It's a choice whether you want it or not. My wife and her doctors chose that she should have it. So why are we having to go through this hassle right now other than incompetence in Washington, D.C.? Hello and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, be patient with me. I was in New York City yesterday. I spoke at the Barrett News Summit. It's a talk radio conference. Yesterday afternoon, Glenn Beck was there. I was there. A lot of people were there, and it was a good conference. It was a networking event. I stood for basically 12 hours. But I also walked around New York City, and I got to tell you, if you've never been to New York, first of all, I totally forgot. I haven't been up there since before COVID. The noise, the amount of horns that blow through the night and stuff, good gracious, the amount of trash they pile on the streets for pickup, that's always been there. What I noticed, though, are... Again, I never felt unsafe even at night, and I was near Central Park, so it wasn't an unsafe part of town. But the amount of homeless people with serious mental health issues roaming the streets still, I mean, it's just sad. Sad to see that they don't do anything about it. Now, let me tell you about Hillsdale College, a great organization, and they would love it if you checked them out at ericforhillsdale.com. In particular, if you go to ericforhillsdale.com today, you can sign up with Hillsdale College and take one of their 40 classes for free. They're video lectures, 30 minutes apiece. And now it depends on what class you take, how many episodes there are, but each episode 30 minutes with Hillsdale's great faculty. And you literally can just, learn so much, and it's at no charge to you. All you have to do is go to ericforhillsdale.com, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com. You sign up with Hillsdale College today. You get smarter about a topic. There's a great one on the Federalist Papers. Frankly, Tim Kaine, the senator from Virginia, needs to take that one, given his statements we'll get into about inalienable rights coming from God. That he could learn a lot, but you can too. You go to Eric, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com. You sign up today with Hillsdale College, and you start learning. Greetings, conversationalists. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation. Glad to have you with me. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I am happy to take your phone calls. But before I get to them, I want to talk about the Florida situation. The state of Florida, under Governor Ron DeSantis and his Surgeon General, have announced the end of all vaccine mandates. So there will be no MMR mandate. There's going to be no no mandate for the chickenpox vaccine, HPV, anything else. And the left is catastrophizing this. They are turning it into unmitigated disaster. Do you know how many people are going to die? The blood that will be on Ron DeSantis' hands. Let me start with where I am with my family, because, you know, I'm the man, therefore, head of household. I say that laughingly because I texted my wife this morning. She thanked me for cooking something for us, and I just keep my wedding vows. As I said, love, honor, and obey you. She found the humor in it, and in any event, our kids are vaccinated. We believe vaccines work. I think, for example, there's some controversy over the Hep B vaccine. And I'm not sure why an infant needs the Hep B vaccine unless their mother was in risky business before the child was born or as the child was born. And by the time they get old enough to really need to worry about Hep B, they're going to have to be revaccinated. I don't get that one, but why the mandate in some cases. But the MMR vaccine, no, it doesn't cause autism, and it actually really does help. I remember as a kid, the chickenpox parties kids would have. My sisters both got chickenpox. I have never had chickenpox. I have natural immunity from chickenpox. Not sure why, but I went to get the chickenpox vaccine when it came out, and they tested me and said, "Oh, you've got natural immunity. If you get the chickenpox vaccine, it can actually be bad for you." Never had chickenpox. I get the flu vaccine. As I said earlier, I've been skeptical of the flu vaccine in the past because I've gotten the flu after getting the flu vaccine. It's like it doesn't work. And when my doctor was telling me to get it, particularly because of my wife's situation, he wanted me to get the flu vaccine. I was like, but I get the flu. When I get the flu vaccine, he says, no. What happens is you've been exposed to the flu before you get the vaccine, and that turbocharges you getting your flu symptoms. If you get the flu vaccine before flu is really going around, you're going to be fine and you're not going to get the flu. And sure enough, I get the flu vaccine. I don't get the flu. In the few years where I haven't gotten the flu vaccine, I have gotten the flu so bad, been miserable. So I get the flu vaccine. My kids get the flu vaccine. We got the original COVID vaccine and booster because of my wife's cancer, but my kids and I are like, Mom needs it, but we don't need it anymore. And I've never gotten COVID. And frankly, as COVID spreads again, it's milder and milder as it, very much like the flu the Spanish flu is terrible. And a lot of people believe that the flu we get today is derived from that. And you don't have massive deaths from the flu. I don't get the pneumonia vaccine, but the basic vaccines for kids. Yes, we have gone through those. My daughter, my wife and I were a little bit concerned about the HPV vaccine. You really don't need it unless you're engaged in risky sexual behavior, frankly. But we decided nonetheless, not that our daughter does or would, but go on and do the HPV vaccine as well, because we do know, God forbid something ever happens to my kid, given the cancer history of my wife's family, better safe than sorry. HPV has wiped out cervical cancer in Australia and Great Britain. It is a modern miracle we don't talk enough about. The HPV vaccine has wiped out cervical cancer in Great Britain and Australia among those who got it. Not a person who has gotten that vaccine has gotten cervical cancer, which stands out dramatically compared to those who haven't gotten it and wound up getting cervical cancer and contracted HPV. They got cancer. It's a miracle drug. Here's why I'm not alarmed by Ron DeSantis in the state of Florida getting rid of vaccine mandates. All but I think 5 states already have religious exemptions for vaccines. Now, I need to set the stage again here. Now, I've laid out my position on I support vaccines. I think your kids should get the MMR vaccine. The measles can be very debilitating. Several kids died this past year in the measles wave. Others are going to be blind. I had friends growing up who got chickenpox who have scars on their body from chickenpox to this day as adults. They got scars on their body from it. Get your kid vaccinated, I think. I understand the religious objection, particularly the MMR. You know, the original MMR vaccine was derived from an aborted baby. That's the religious objection. If you want to know what the religious objection to the MMR is, it's that the original MMR was developed based on fetal tissue from an aborted child, and a lot of pro-lifers had a religious objection. Totally understandable in my mind. My view has always been that what some meant for evil, God meant for good. The MMR vaccine has saved a lot of lives. Your mileage may vary. But there are all but 5 states, so 45 states have religious exceptions for vaccines. 45 states allow you to opt out of vaccines already, including Florida, for religious exceptions. In other words, when you go to the doctor with your toddler, your doctor is still going to recommend the battery of vaccines. But the state will not deny your child a publicly funded education if you choose not to get them. The children who are vaccinated are not going to get the diseases. The children who are not vaccinated will give each other immunity or kill each other, preferably immunity with modern medicine. They'll typically be fine. Y'all, I'm sorry, but I'm okay with this. And what I'm not okay with is the left catastrophizing this and scaring people about it. It's simply just not true that it's going to be a disaster. The people who are already objecting are using the religious exemption to object. Now, here's the thing. Larger issue here. Let's talk about the way the media covers stuff. The Erickson rule of media coverage, rule number 1, is that when the Republicans are in charge, they always cover the victims. When Democrats are in charge, they always cover the beneficiaries of policies. When it comes to something like this, they are catastrophizing healthcare in ways that actually don't make sense when you realize that the people who are already objecting in these states are using a religious exemption. Now they don't have to use a religious exemption. They could just say, I don't want my kid to have the vaccine. And then what happens? You know, if you're worried, get your kid the vaccine. That's always been my wife's and my view has always been, I mean, do what you want to do. We think it's beneficial. We think it actually will help. And our kid's not going to get sick, and your kid might. And if your kid gets sick, we hope your child is fine. And if you're in our friend group and we can do anything to help, God bless you, we'll help. But it's your choice. Really, some of these diseases can be fatal. Some of them can leave your child with a disability, and I hope that's not the case. But you're the parent. You know best for your child. You decide what's in your child's interest. And for the media to freak out about it and say kids are going to die, they're already using the religious exception. The media is trying to drive up anxiety. The media is trying to drive up hysteria. The media is trying to drive up people's rage over an issue. I did not see anywhere in the media coverage of the Florida situation that 45 states have religious exceptions already. I did not see in any of the coverage that what they were going to do, what doctors are going to do is still advise you to get vaccines in Florida. That's not going to change. The physician advice on vaccines isn't going to change in Florida. It's just they're not going to require it. So if you go to your doctor and your doctor never suggests the vaccines at all, and your kid gets a debilitating illness that could have been preventable, you're going to sue the doctor for malpractice. The doctor's going to advise you about the vaccines just to cover his own liability reasons, his backside. So you're still going to get the advice from the doctors to get the vaccine for your kid. And now it's going to be your choice as to whether or not you do, without having to file paperwork for religious exception. You're not going to have to file paperwork. See, now contrast this with what Kennedy is doing with the COVID vaccine. Kennedy is driving up the bureaucracy where you got to go through more paperwork to try to get the vaccine. And in Florida, what they're doing is they're driving down the bureaucracy. They're actually making it your choice, not a mandate that you can get out of. That's, I think, responsible. And again, my frustration is not with what they've done, but with the way this has been covered, because most people are like, oh my God, they're going to kill kids. No, they've already got a religious exception. You don't have to do it in 45 states. You do not have to get a vaccine for your child if you say it's a religious exception. I'm sorry. I just think that this is another overblown issue by people who just want to hate Ron DeSantis, by people who want to hate the right, by people who want to claim the right is anti-science. And I just can't take a single person seriously saying the right is anti-science when they believe boys can become girls. I just can't do it. Live and let live. We would all be better off. Now, let me go to Terry here in Florida. Terry, welcome to the Eric Erickson Show. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Eric, I agree with you about your wife totally. I hate the idea of being forced to take a vaccine that we don't know what's in, and so I didn't take it. But I understand your wife's situation, and I don't know why we can't, I had to buy ivermectin from a foreign country because I didn't want the vaccine. I wanted ivermectin. And I never got COVID, and I've been fine. But I don't understand why when something is available and legal, we aren't able to get it and ourselves.
So, I actually know, Terry, the answer to that one. So it actually is a rational answer here. So with drugs like ivermectin that are prescription-controlled drugs, in some states like Texas has passed a law where you'll be able to get it over the counter. And so what the federal government does with all the drugs is they restrict them, and then the states can make them more freely available. So, for example, some states want to have birth control over the counter. Texas wants to have ivermectin over the counter. It's actually an affirmative duty of the state to act to allow it to happen. So the federal government basically classifies almost all the drugs except for like Advil and Tylenol and stuff like that as required prescriptions. Vaccines are not if they're approved by the vaccine board, which the COVID vaccine, now they paused that approval. And other drugs can become available over the counter if states act. So if you want to get ivermectin over the counter, you can get your state to pass legislation to make it over the counter in your state. Now, there are insurance issues there as well. And again, if I actually know people during COVID who believed that the data they read on ivermectin, I'll be honest, I'm skeptical, but they believed it, and they actually went to vets who were friends of theirs and got it, and because it's readily available from veterinarians, horse medicine. My concern here, though, is that we're having, because of the distrust in our healthcare community now, and so many of the people in our healthcare community are too arrogant to recognize that they themselves built up the distrust, that we are having these sorts of disputes that we've never had in the past. And we're having them because of the distrust. I mean, y'all, when you see the American Academy of Pediatrics try to justify transgenderism, you can't help but realize there's, if not evil at work, politics at work. When you see the level of politicization out there, when it comes to monkeypox, that we have to call it mpox lest we stigmatize people, and we can't tell people to stop having sex for 2 weeks, which would be the easiest way to stop its spread. We can't do that. You can't help but look and say that this is politics. This is politics. Not only is it politics, it's progressive ideology, and that just seeds more distrust of the system. We used to be able to have these independent groups that we could kind of rely on. And so many of them have gone through ideological capture by the left. You can't believe any of them anymore. And the arrogance of the left to not recognize that they have played a role in this situation where no one believes the organizations anymore, because when they tell you can stop COVID by shutting down the country for 2 weeks, but we can't stop the spread of monkeypox by shutting down orgies for 2 weeks, otherwise people wouldn't be able to have a good time. That right there is extremely disqualifying from people wanting to believe what any of these people say about anything. Hello there. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here, 877-973-7425. Nancy, going to go to you next. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. Thanks. Love your show, Eric. We listen
Thank
to it
you.
every day.
Appreciate it.
I have two comments. You bring up such good topics. I have two comments. One is on the measles and the vaccine. And if the government feels it's so important that they were trying to, I think people don't like being forced to do something, whether you want to or not. That's one of the issues. But we had at least 300,000 young people came over the border. They can't even find them. And did they give every one of them vaccinations for measles and all this stuff so that they couldn't spread it? Because they were not getting that stuff in their countries probably. And if it was so vital to have these vaccines, then I would think everybody who crossed the border, and same with COVID, they were coming in during COVID, and I don't think they were giving COVID shots to all of them, but they wanted all the Americans to have it.
Okay,
So that's
Nancy,
one thought.
Okay, go make your second thought, and then I got a story to blow your brains, I blow your mind after you give me the second thought.
Okay, the second one's about COVID. I did not take the shot. I'm allergic to flu shots, so I refused. And half of our family, which has about 12 people in it, did not take it. We didn't get COVID. The other half, including my husband, took it and got COVID. So that was interesting. And but what I did, I read up a lot on it, especially Dr. Peter McCullough, who wrote 40 peer-reviewed papers on all this stuff. And he was saying that ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine and taking zinc and quercetin, which are over-the-counter vitamins, would prevent all of this stuff. So I was doing that. And then I had a doctor give me the ivermectin and the hydroxychloroquine. Then I ran out and I went back, and CVS said they made us pull it all off of our shelves. And the private pharmacy said, we've been told we lose our license. Well, what were they so afraid of? But there was a community up in Ohio with farmers, and they could get it through the veterinarians.
Yes.
And nobody in that town got COVID. So
okay,
this is
Nancy,
what we
I
objected
gotta
to.
let you go there, but I appreciate that. And here's what will blow your mind is that if you come into the country through the Overseas Refugee Program, they give you the vaccines if you're a child out of the country. If you just walk across the border, they don't. That's how absurd the healthcare situation is. Now, let me tell you about Swiss America. They want to help you. If you are worried about this war on cash where the government is trying to steer your spending towards debit and credit cards so they can see what you're buying, you need to get their free report, The Secret War on Cash. You can get it by calling or texting 800-289-2646. The all-out war on cash includes digital forms of currency, and it's spreading. Read The Secret War on Cash report for free. You just mentioned Eric, E-R-I-C-K, when you call or text 800-289-2646. That's 800-289-2646. Now, this applies to crypto. The government is trying to figure out ways to audit your crypto purchases and sales, which is wild. You need this Secret War on Cash report from Swiss America. Call or text them 800-289-2646. You can also go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric, SwissAmerica.com/ERICK, or 800-289-2646. Message and data rates may apply.